Hi, I'm James Taylor.
And I'm Alison Burns.
And together we are
the Ethical Futurists.
Now, you're listening to the Ethical Futurists podcast, where we dive into the world of sustainability, ethics, and why these ideas today are more important than ever before. Now, join us as we engage with leading thinkers, with business leaders, with academics, with entrepreneurs, with investors, and change makers to uncover the latest ideas shaping a more ethical and sustainable future. We're going to be covering a lot of different things in this podcast as well.
We are indeed. From sustainability, innovation to future trends and ESG.
Our conversations span a wide array of topics, including renewable energy. We're going to be looking at clean tech, ethical investing,
food systems, and much more.
Yeah. In each episode, we explore really crucial issues such as carbon emissions, the circular economy. We're going to be talking about rewilding,
net zero carbon goals,
and the future of food and energy, something that Alice and I are really passionate about.
So whether you're interested in lab-grown meat, alternative proteins, sustainable finance, or climate-related risk, we've got you covered.
Yasin Kasirga leads GE Vernova's decarbonization business covering Middle East and Africa. Yasin and his team are closely collaborating with GE Vernova's customers and partners to achieve their individual decarbonization net zero targets while keeping an eye on economic viability and supporting them in strengthening their position for a decarbonized energy future. The collaborative decarbonization solutions span a wide range from ready to deploy as well as emerging innovative solutions, from pre-combustion decarbonization through low carbon, no carbon fuels to post-carbon combustion carbon capture technologies. We're going to be exploring all of these things and maybe a little bit more in this conversation today. Yasin has a huge background, huge experience, technical and commercial, 18 plus years. You look far too young to have that. In building, developing, selling more than 5 gigawatts of gas plants, more than 6 gigawatts of renewable hydro, solar, geothermal, 25 plus wind power plants within Europe, Middle East and Africa. And we're also going to be touching on his role, the work that he did as a senior energy advisor and member of the energy transition team, leading the initiatives under COP28 climate conference at the office of the UAE presidency climate change special envoy. And we're going to cover that as well. So lots to cover, Yasin. Great to have you on. What currently has got your focus? What are you currently focused on just now?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. I think what's going on right now is once in a lifetime thing, because just 2 weeks ago, the company that I'm working for, GE Vernova, it began operating as an independent, industry-leading investment-grade company. It made IPO, and that company is going to incorporate all the legacy GE energy businesses, ranging from steam turbines, gas turbines, small modular reactors, onshore wind, offshore wind, hydro, electrification software, electrification solutions, orchestration of it, together with solar, storage, energy conversion, as well as consultancy services, as well as energy financial services. So it's a company very recently established as a standalone company. And I'm also one of the founders of the company, which I'm very proud. And this company is currently right now having the technology of more than 1/3 of the world's total electricity generation.
Wow.
And I'm talking about more than 54,000 wind turbines, 7,000 gas turbines. So super excited.
Yeah, that's great. Well, this is amazing that you're here, actually, because we want to pick your brains further. So what do you feel are your top accomplishments, given your role at GE Vernova and also your role at COP28?
Well, over there, when I just close my eyes, let's say, a couple of things are coming. First is James mentioned about these renewables and then the projects. Between 2020 and 2021, together with my team, we have delivered more than 26 wind farms into life. And what makes it very remarkable for me is it was right in the middle of COVID. There were curfews everywhere. In the end, we are moving like 60 meters, 70 meters of pieces it was a super challenge. And there was also some other time constraints that we need to fulfill. But I think that's something that me and my team will be proud till the end of our lives, let's say. And then, of course, I mean, I had the chance to really have my hands as a privilege to deliver more than 5 gigawatts of gas plants, more than 6 gigawatts of renewables. And last but not least, of course, during my time in COP28, while I was working as a part of the energy transition team, there was many initiatives that I think really made a lot of success. But the one that I was leading together with the team, and I need to mention my colleague Harley Higgins as well, kudos to her, it's tripling renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency. And it was a broader effort together with IRENA, with Global Renewables Alliance as well. And it was a full building blocks of rallying all the countries till the end in order to get this global renewable pledge to be signed and agreed. And eventually, I'm really super, super happy to see it taking its place in the final negotiated outcome text.
One of the areas that you're passionate about, and Alison and I learned a little bit about when we were at COP28, was around carbon capture, both direct carbon capture and then what we often think about, hear about carbon capture. Which of these technologies, and I think can you explain just a little bit the differences between these two? Which of these two kind of technologies do you think holds the most potential for this journey we're taking towards more sustainability?
Absolutely. Well, I think when you look at these technologies, the carbon capture, generally we are referring to capturing carbon from a specific source. And it can be like an exhaust stream of a gas-fired plant. It can be from a current process that's emitting carbon. But direct air capture is literally capturing the carbon dioxide from the air we breathe, directly from the atmosphere. And if you look at the technology readiness level, together with the commercial scale, the bankability, the feasibility of these projects, the carbon capture is the one that I'm mentioning on the point source capture is already there. And I think that has the biggest potential in the upcoming decade, not only because you can deploy it to many different sectors. We call it sector coupling. So you can deploy it to the power sector, you can deploy it to the aluminum smelters, you can deploy it for cement, steel manufacturing, which gives a lot of, I would say, leverage for all these sectors to get the most out of it. And apart from that, you can go up to like 95% capture of the CO2 from the emissions. And at the same time, I believe the direct air capture technology, which is already there as well today, but the real deal is right now, it needs some more time to be deployed at scale. And that's generally always the curve that we see. I mean, you have the technology. Most of the technologies that we are talking about is readily available. But when it comes to really deploying them at scale, when it comes to really reducing the overall cost of the investment, together with the policy framework, together with the financing solutions, that's what it takes time. But when it comes to direct air capture, we also see a huge potential over there. We are, as GE Vernova, working on it as well. And then we believe it's going to be a full complementary solution to the regular carbon capture technology that we are currently having right now. And it will eventually help most of the emitters to be even going for carbon negative. So there will be a point you'll start to capture that 3% that you are not able to capture today. And then you will go negative with direct air capture. You will be able to deploy it wherever you want. And then that's going to be the complementary nature of these two technologies.
So it's the one we think of just now as carbon capture, that is proven, it's happening now, there's lots of ways of deploying it, while the direct capture there's lots of real potential, but it needs to get to that level of higher commercialization and we can deploy it.
Absolutely. Both of these technologies are available.
Complementary.
Then they are going to be complementary.
It's incredible. I was watching a video about how the carbon is used in the making of concrete, and how does it turn to limestone? Is like limestone? There's something in there, the science in there, that makes it actually stronger. So that's really encouraging when you think about all this innovation. But I just wanted to mention, James and I, a few years ago, we spoke for a company in Switzerland called Casale, who actually, I think it started as a family business in the 1930s, and they actually invented the first hydrogen car in the early 1930s, and they had a patent on it in 1935. But hydrogen, because of its volatility, it wasn't the right time. It was powered by ammonia, this car. But now, with science and technology proving that you can do different things with these volatile elements, where do you see the use of hydrogen within the energy field?
Well, hydrogen is what we call as an energy vector, which means you can store energy with hydrogen, and you can also use it in many different applications. And you have literally a lot of applications that you can use hydrogen. I mean, just to give you an example, as of now, we have some gas turbines within UAE, which can burn up to 50% hydrogen if you like to use it for combustion. Or you can go for high heat applications, you can go for mobility. I think what's going to decide or design the way the hydrogen is going to be utilized is, again, like the need that is going to be driven by these industries. So for example, I'm expecting the industry where you need high heat applications because they may not have a lot of chance to decarbonize. So probably hydrogen is going to be one of the main sources of those kind of applications to be decarbonized. And another aspect, and this is also connected with the carbon capture question, once we start to capture the carbon and at the same time generating or producing hydrogen from low carbon resources, then there will be also points that we will be synthesizing hydrogen and carbon, bringing them together. And then we are going to have the fuels that the aviation industry is looking for, which is the sustainable aviation fuels. Because things will change for sure, but there will be the need for the fuels again. So the future fuels or the fuels in the future will be low carbon, no carbon fuels. And I think hydrogen is also going to play a very big role over there.
Do you think as well that hydrogen, obviously I think there's a move towards green ammonia in the shipping industry? Is that a field that you're familiar with in terms of the energy transition there?
Yes. If you look at the overall carbon emissions right now, it's like the power industry is around 40% of it. You have transportation, which includes shipping as well as aviation. You have buildings, and also you have agriculture. So in terms of agriculture, I mean, ammonia is a big part of the emissions as well. So the way to decarbonize those industries, including shipping, is also going to be, I generally call it hydrogen and its derivatives. So ammonia, certainly as a derivative of hydrogen, is going to have a big role, including power generation as well.
Are you looking to secure a keynote speaker who's well-versed in sustainability, ESG, or any of the engaging topics featured on the Ethical Futurists podcast? Well, look no further. Connect with the experts at MENA Speakers to book your ideal speaker today.
Just go to MENA-speakers.com. That's MENA-speakers.com. Alternatively, you can drop them an email at book@MENA-speakers.com to book the perfect speaker for your next event. Now, Alison and I are both from Scotland.
You can't tell.
Which can't tell with these accents. Alison has more of a Scottish accent than I do. And we spend, obviously, here a lot of time in the UAE. In Scotland in the 1950s, 60s, you had a lot of hydropower being created, a lot of dams.
We have a lot of rain.
We have a lot of rain. We have an awful lot of rain.
hills, and it all goes downhill.
And then it kind of stopped in the 70s or so. And then now there's been this huge drive towards wind. So that's either offshore or onshore wind as well. In this region, this part of the world that we're in just now, so Middle East, Africa, what are the opportunities that you see when it comes to both wind and hydro? Because often you don't hear about hydro necessarily in this part of the world.
Well, you're asking questions which are really near and dear to my heart, because I was in charge of hydro for GE between 2016 and 2018. And when it comes to renewables, we always talk about the resource availability. So for the wind, we are always looking for some wind speeds above a certain threshold, but not too much. We look for some certain, what we call it, like turbulent intensity, as well as you don't like the wind to change the direction every second. So similarly for hydro as well. I mean, you are looking for some certain flow, some certain elevation difference, and it may not be available everywhere. However, there is a solution that is called pumped hydro, which you can artificially build 2 reservoirs, one up, one down. And with the technology that we have, we call it pump turbines. Whenever there is excess power, excess energy, you can store it in the upper reservoir using the machinery as a pump. And when you need energy, you can use it as a turbine and generate energy over there. And there is one right now that's going to be completed in UAE. If I'm not mistaken, probably within this year, there is going to be a 250 megawatt pump storage plant in Hatta. And then there are other projects that in the region is planned to be done. Just to give you an example on the pumped hydro and the capacity and the potential of it. In Switzerland, there is one, we call it giant battery. It's called Lintel plant. It's 1,000 megawatt in terms of the power. And it can store equal to 340,000 electric car batteries of energy over there. So I think pumped hydro is also going to be very important when it comes to balance the grid.
Just like the
because
base
it's
load.
a base load, large storage solution that's going to support the grid resiliency a lot. And when it comes to wind as well, it's again a resource thing that I mentioned earlier. And if you look at the overall, from North Africa to all the Gulf countries, there are really certain places that you can harness the onshore and the offshore potential.
Amazing.
Exciting time to
It
be
is.
doing the work you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, with all that, do you feel that there's a sense of urgency, given climate change and everything, and with that in mind, what's the hardest part of your job?
Alison, we call this, it's a decade of action. The thing is, the climate change and the impacts, these are known for years. And then the more we are late in taking action, the more the consequences we are going to face. And the thing is, everything is coming together right now. I think we are really getting closer to what we call the carbon budget of the world. Every year we are emitting around 40 gigatons of carbon dioxide. So we need to find a way to really decarbonize as fast as possible, as much as possible. So this means we need to find a way to decarbonize the current energy system and at the same time start building the future energy system. And grids are super important when we talk about energy transition. We always say there is no transition without transmission. So that's also a very big important and very big part of the energy transition that we need to take care of. And of course, it's a race against the time.
I think we met very briefly just before COP was about to start. I think we met at an event somewhere, and I could see the hours that you were obviously putting in to COP28 and all the preparations for that as well. Can you tell us about, in this journey you've been involved in lots of different areas of energy. Has it been a key aha moment, like a light bulb moment, or something you just went, either I'm on the right track, or you came to a decision, or you made a change in some way in how you thought about something?
I think what I mentioned about grid, and I will give you some data points. This is a big aha moment. And because the things, and maybe I can connect this with the previous question on the hardest part. Even if we today, in this podcast, if we agree to go for an investment for a project that's decarbonized. We are going to say, let's go tomorrow, we are going to run and start a feasibility study. Once we are happy, we will start going to the banks, and at the same time we will hire people. We are going to look for the permitting. We are going to get ready for all the pre-work and the developing the project, get the financing, get the permits and everything in place. And then we are going to go for a tender. We are going to evaluate it. We are going to award someone. That someone is going to start delivering the project, constructing it, commissioning it. There will be a day, what we call COD, which is the commercial operation date. Voila, it's 7 years from now. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the hardest part of what we are doing. We are trying to really find people that are going to believe in this and be the early adapter, while not everybody is moving at the same pace. And that's only possible with making them to really imagine and at the same time see things happening, be the early mover, which they are going to be enjoying it later, because there is no other way out. The world is going to go to that direction. Sooner or later, we are going to go there. Everybody is going to go there. So we will not be talking about any product that is not sustainable anymore. There will be a day. And all the idea is to find a way to bring that day as early as possible so that we can continue all the civilization and the happy life, the beautiful life that we already structured. And coming back to your question on the aha moment, when it comes to grids, let me give you some numbers. As of now, the total installed capacity of renewables, whole world, is 3,500 gigawatts. And the total amount of renewable projects, and I'm not talking about the ones that are being developed, I'm talking about the ones that are in the advanced stage. And this is based on International Energy Agency's grid report, is 1,500 gigawatts of those projects, which are all in the advanced stage. They are waiting for green light to be connected to the grid. So grid is probably the most complex machine that we have ever built, but it's also a relatively old machine, and it needs modernization. It needs to be resilient. So I think that was one of the aha moments that I had when I just saw these numbers.
I think we could probably go, if we had a little bit longer, we could talk about the green job side, because there's a lot of opportunity in terms of future skills and new jobs as well. But we're going to finish up here. We're going to come to our quickfire round. A couple of final questions for you. Alison, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, is there a book that you can recommend to our listeners that will enlighten them on sustainable power and the transition to that into that world?
Absolutely. I would recommend The Grid by Dr. Gretchen Bakke.
And what about a podcast? We're on a podcast today. What do you listen to? What podcast do you listen to just now?
There is a podcast we started as GE, which is hosted by my colleague Jeffrey Goldmere. It's called Cutting Carbon. And I think people will see and hear a lot of different aspects of whole energy transition, from technology, policy, investment landscape. So I would definitely recommend it.
Great. We'll put that link at theethicalfuturist.com in the show notes for here, so you can go and check out that and subscribe to that podcast.
Yeah, and just a final question from me. In your view, what does an ethical and sustainable world look like? A planet that you want to leave for future generations?
Great question. And I always think about people taking care of the challenge that we have to take care right now years ago. So what we were supposed to do would be something different. But so taking this into account, I think, and I like Latin phrases. So one is,
me too.
Nos te ipsum, so know yourself. The second is ad astra per aspera.
Oh, that's actually
that's your.
Well, I'm a lawyer, and that's my legal motto.
Yeah,
lovely.
That's
and what is that?
To the stars through. I'll let you explain.
That means to the stars through difficulties.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's not going to be an easy way out. And the last one that I love a lot is opus magnum.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe everyone, regardless of their age, and it doesn't have to be just one opus magnum. So in every phase of your life, you can have your opus magnum. So I think that should be the opus magnum of our generation, to be able to live and tackle this challenge and to leave a world that is really sustainable for the future generations.
Absolutely.
And if people want to learn more about you, more about the work of GE Vernova, if want to connect with you as well, where's the best place for them to go and do that?
LinkedIn. Certainly, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay. Great. We'll put all those links here. Yasin Kasirga from GE Vernova, thank you so much for coming on The Ethical Futurist today.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you're considering making sustainability or ESG one of the themes for your next conference, your event, or perhaps a company retreat, then why not invite Alison and myself to be your keynote speakers or event MCs? We've delivered really inspiring co-keynote programs for some of the world's largest organizations from all different kinds of industries. Now, the Ethical Futurist keynote will take your audience on a journey to discover how the world's most ethical and sustainable companies are really innovating in their industries. So if you'd like to learn more about booking Alison and I as the Ethical Futurist for your next event, then simply head to theethicalfuturists.com/speaking. That's theethicalfuturists.com/speaking to schedule a call to discuss with us your next event. We're delighted that you listened to this podcast, and we'd really thank you if you could just take a moment now to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Also, while you're there, why not give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review? It would really mean a lot to Alison and I. So from me, James Taylor.
And me, Alison Burns.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Futurist podcast.